Hello, everyone. So I'm going to introduce you the Smart Logistic Mutualization and Reverse Auction platform, which is supposed to be a micro-digitized hub. But first of all, I'm just going to ask a question. Would you know the common connection between Malcolm McLean and Ole Kirk Christiansen? Don't answer right now. I'm going to come back on that, but you can still think about it. And I'm going to start. My main example is going to be about talking about global value chain acquisition constellation, because people have become more and more aware of the fact that we talked about it earlier, but that supply chain is not anymore linear, sequential, but it has become actually a big network where interactions are not between one partner to another at a time, but simultaneous partner to another's. And the fact is that with the enhancement of that network, there's also a big risk, which is the whiplash effect that has improved. And so whenever one of the stakeholders would have some issues delivering to the other part, to the next step of the chain, then at the end of the day, it will be the customer who will be not satisfied, and then the company would risk what we could call brand image issues, loyalty of the customer, etc. So in order to illustrate that, I'm going to take the example of someone who's a purchaser working for an IT company, for an industry company, who would actually buy a software that would be able to make all the machines communicate and provide a design and redesign of the flows in order to optimize those ones. So at first, as a buyer, you will have to define the perimeter and what you're waiting for. And of course, you will be waiting for that magical packaged solution. Fact is that in the realm, it's not like that. It's actually the theory of the iceberg. Of course, the summit that we all know is about obsolescence. So we all know that there's a deadline for everything, and we can anticipate that. But what we can't anticipate is actually the fact that we did not define correctly our specification. And in that case, it's not the supplier's mistake to not have been delivering the right product. I'd say that it's because you didn't have the right knowledge nor expertise in order to define it. So the consequences are actually improved costs, not ownership on the products, and for example, no interoperability between your software and your client software in order to exchange data, which means reinvesting in transcodificators in order to translate those data, and of course, maintenance. In order to give you some real examples, I'm going to introduce you to some of my friends. And this is Daniel, who is actually a purchasing manager for the quantum company. His current issues is the fact that he's got an excellent team of purchasers, but they're not all experts in every field they need to purchase the product from. So fact is, he's been having several issues that were about renewing contracts with the same supplier in order to finish the project, or either finding another supplier in order to redo the projects. Then there is Giselle, a warehouse logistic collaborator working for the big company. Her current issues is that they are actually having their own warehouse for their own products, but the fact is that they've got seasonal trends. So for some seasons they have empty spaces, and even though they will have empty spaces, it doesn't mean that the fixed charge will reduce. Actually, since they're fixed, they stay the same. And she would want to get a flexible opportunity to rent that empty space in order to reduce her fixed charge. And finally, John, who is actually working for a startup as a logistic coordinator, the Throne BV. They're actually producing beautiful chairs made of antique swords. So I would advise all of you to go on the websites. And his current issue as working for a startup is that their finances is really limited. So they can't actually rent a whole warehouse First, because they don't have the finances for, and second of all, because they do not need a whole warehouse. So his issue will be to get also a flexibility in the storage space he will rent. And now the common point between those three friends, it's of course not the fact that their demand meets the offer, but they don't know each other, which is actually the current problem in the world. But even though John and Giselle are sharing, are having the same needs and could be complementary, and even though Daniel could benefit from their knowledge. So let's come back to the question. Has anyone found out? No. There's a clue as well. No? Okay. So it's about containers and Lego. That's actually the there are the first tools for world trade and for children. And why am I talking about that? It's because they are representing the bricks. And nowadays, in order to get more flexibility, we need some bricks. I mean by that we need to have useful tools that we can either use fully or as a choice in a menu. And why would we use that? It's because we are all actually looking to get some more agility, improve continuously our systems, and to prevent and also correct the issues that we can have. How can we do that? So the more obvious answer will be to have shareable resources, but on a tool that would be a digital application. Why digital? Because it could connect everyone everywhere. With a data integrity, because of the different data we will exchange based on the blockchain, which is not that, let's say, it's an innovation not based on the model, but on the fact that it's been digitized, since it was based on the mathematical problem of the Byzantine generals. And finally, the data acquisition, which represents the source of wealth. So the smart logistic mutualization, how does it work? You've got a platform where you can have all the knowledge you need. And how does that knowledge appear? It's because of the subscribers or the different transactions. So as I chose the example of John and Giselle, John will benefit from Giselle's logistic management and warehouse, and all that in one platform because he will meet her on that platform. Then you could also reduce your cost through that and also collect some data. The reverse auction part is about the project specification, for example. Fact is that I said earlier that it's difficult for purchasers sometimes to define their specifications. And if we could reverse actually the model and ask suppliers to help us define it by challenging them to answer the same question, how can I make it? How can I make my project? In only one hub, that will be the reverse auction platform. So this is actually an example of what the platform would look like. So it would have the geolocalization option in order to help you find local partners that could have the same needs as you, or that could have the offers that would meet your demands. And it will be based on an intranet and extranet system. And by that, I mean that the extranet is made to communicate about that platform in order to tell to people what is happening in the world, and the intranet in order to make transactions. So in order to conclude, as I said earlier with the iceberg, the main issue is sometimes that we have a broken bridge. And in order to repair that bridge or to maybe replace it, we can use data analytics, trust and safety, and also universal tool. And by universal tool, I mean using that platform as a transaction platform. It means having this universal language. So no more different ERP that we are going to be obligated to use, or that we are going to impose to our customers or suppliers. And just create a bridge. And as I love that quote, which is coming from a movie with a panther, a Marvel movie, while the foolish build walls, the wise build bridges. And let's become all superheroes who are gonna collaborate, and let's forget about that competition, which is sometimes not that useful. Thank you.